My classmates stole my project and submitted it under their own name. I stayed quiet. On the day of the final presentation, I showed the original file and the timestamp. The teacher saw it, and all of their hard work fell apart in a single moment. The first time someone told me I looked happier, I almost laughed. It happened during a Thursday night church potluck in our small suburban town outside Columbus, Ohio. PTA moms lined up casseroles on folding tables while children ran between rows of metal chairs. The room smelled like cinnamon coffee and warm bread. Everything looked perfect from the outside, which was exactly how people in our town liked things. "You look different," Mrs. Harper said while handing me a paper cup of lemonade. "Do I?" "Yeah," she replied carefully. "Happier." I smiled because that was easier than explaining the truth. People in our town noticed every little change, but they only asked questions that felt safe. They would gossip about someone's haircut, a missed church service, or whose son got accepted into a good college. But nobody asked why Ava Monroe and I suddenly stopped sitting together at school. And nobody asked why she couldn't look me in the eye anymore. For years, everyone thought Ava and I were inseparable. We grew up on neighboring streets, volunteered at food drives together, and babysat for the same families. Teachers treated us like a package deal. If there was a group project, we were automatically paired together. So when Ava submitted our senior media project under only her name, nobody questioned it. Not even me. At least not publicly. "You're seriously okay with this?" my younger brother Ethan asked one rainy night while I pretended to study at the kitchen counter. "It's just a project," I said quietly. "That's not what Dad thinks." The moment he mentioned Dad, the room felt colder. Ever since the investigation last spring, my father's name had become something people whispered instead of spoke aloud. He used to organize charity events and church fundraisers. Everyone trusted him. Then money started disappearing. I shut my laptop slowly. People don't always know the whole story. Ethan studied me for a second. "You've been acting weird lately." He wasn't wrong. The strange part was that everyone thought my silence meant I was weak. Even Ava believed that. A week after she submitted the project, she stopped me behind the school library near the book return box. The cold wind pushed strands of blonde hair across her face, but I could still see the nervousness hiding behind her confident expression. "I thought you'd make a bigger deal about this," she admitted. I said it's fine. "You helped a little," she said quickly. "But I did most of the work." "Sure." Her shoulders relaxed immediately. That reaction told me everything. Most people assumed I stayed quiet because I was scared of confrontation. The truth was more complicated. By then I was waiting for something bigger. "You know," Ava added casually, "Stanford's already showing interest. Congratulations." "You're not angry?" I looked directly at her. Why would I be? For a brief moment her confidence slipped. She looked unsettled, almost disappointed that I wasn't yelling or accusing her. That I walked away. That night, I reopened the original project folder on my laptop. The timestamp glowed in the corner of the screen. October 14 to 1:12 a.m. 3 weeks before Ava claimed she had even started editing. I stared at the date for a long time, not because I was angry but because I was deciding how far I was willing to go. The project itself wasn't the real issue. On the surface, it was a documentary about local charities and community service programs. Ava narrated it perfectly, smiling warmly on camera during church bake sales and donation drives while soft piano music played in the background. Teachers loved it. Parents called it inspiring. Our principal described it as deeply authentic. That word almost made me laugh. Authentic. Because the truth was, much of our town's kindness had been carefully staged for years. The food pantry featured in our documentary had secretly thrown away expired donations instead of distributing them. Church fundraising money frequently disappeared before reaching the families it was meant to help. The smiling community leaders everyone admired weren't innocent either. Including my father. People believed he was the only one responsible when the investigation started. He wasn't innocent, but he also wasn't alone. And Ava's family knew that better than anyone. That was the real reason she stole the project. Not for the grade. For the footage. At first, I didn't understand why she suddenly insisted on handling the final edits herself. Then I noticed entire interview clips had disappeared. Important interviews. Volunteers talking about missing donations. Community members accidentally contradicting financial records. Conversations that made certain people look guilty. Ava hadn't simply taken credit for my work. She had cleaned the evidence out of it. Suddenly, all the strange behavior made sense. The panic hidden behind her smile, the forced confidence, the way her mother acted overly cheerful during PTA meetings. They assumed I would stay silent because exposing them might also expose my father. And honestly, for a while they were right. Then presentation day arrived. The school auditorium smelled like old curtains and dust. Parents filled the seats while students adjusted PowerPoint slides and display boards near the stage. Ava stood confidently in a blue sweater, wearing the polished smile adults always admired. The second she saw me walk in, her expression tightened. "You came." "Of course. You don't have to do this," she whispered. Interesting choice of words. I tilted my head slightly. "Do what?" Before she could answer, Mr. Bennett called her name. The presentation began smoothly. Too smoothly. The audience loved every second of it. They laughed at the cheerful community scenes and applauded the emotional ending. Ava delivered every line perfectly, like she had rehearsed it 100 times. Maybe she had. Then Mr. Bennett asked a simple question that changed everything. "How did you organize so much footage by yourself?" Ava hesitated. Only for a second. But I noticed. "I stayed up a lot of nights," she replied with a nervous laugh. Several parents chuckled sympathetically. That's when I stood up. "I can answer that." The entire auditorium fell silent. Ava turned pale instantly.